Welcome to Hard Factor. It is Thursday, September 10th, 2020.
You're goddamn right it is.
Yeah, it is, baby.
Come
Big
on.
time.
We're back delivering you the news free of charge.
You guys are
to
about
you,
to get the news.
our listeners, which is why I want to talk to you about something important right off the bat. We had a little meeting with HQ this morning. Everyone was there, and they really stressed merch and how that is a determining factor in the value of the podcasts and the shows that they produce, and it will be a determining factor in whether or not we get signed up again in December when our contract is up. So, hey, we know that times are tough. We know that money's tight, but just throwing it out there. You buy a T-shirt, it really helps us to continue this quest of delivering you the news and staying with you as long as we can, which we really want to do because we love you guys and we love doing this for you. So take it for what it's worth. And that's all I'm going to say about that.
I'm wearing one of our shirts right now. If you go to YouTube, you can check it out. But yeah, this last one that we put up, which is still up, is sexy, and it was sent in, by multiple listeners. Like it was like and we'd love you to keep sending us merch ideas. You tell us what you want to wear,
right?
We'll get it printed.
Yeah, who's
then
got their Hard Factor prototype hat? Anyone within arm's reach?
Not within arm's reach.
No, not within arm's reach.
Well, we'll post a little photo tomorrow because we might get those up for sale. I think they're pretty cool if you guys like them. So
That's right.
Yeah, did a little test print. They look pretty good.
Yeah, they look good. Yeah, we also have heard from a number of ladies that want some merch, so we're going to try to work on that for you.
Maybe a shirt that says, "My boyfriend turned me on to Hard Factor."
Ooh.
That's right. But remember, not all of them are turned on by boyfriends.
That's right.
So well, you could,
just most of them.
What about my man?
Yeah.
My
We'll get
man.
you some. We'll get you some eventually. But yeah, so that's that. That's the spiel. Take it for what it's worth. Let's get into a Trump date, guys.
Because we got a big interview. We got to get right into it. 'Cause we got a big interview with a federal congressman, and we'll kind of give it to him a little bit. So you'll hear that at the end. Of the
We
show.
talk politics. I don't want. I wouldn't. We
had a conversation.
We chat.
We had a conversation. It was good. Really good interview. So stay tuned for that. But first, a lot of Trump stuff to go over. He is again dominating the headlines. We have some good news, bad news, and cocky news. So let's just get into it. First, we're going to go to the bad news. A new book has come out by Bob Woodward. For those of you who don't know who Bob Woodward is, he's an investigative journalist and works for the Washington Post, has for a very long time. Became famous for being one of the first to report on Watergate and Nixon's shady dealings. So he took Nixon out. Now with his new book, Rage, he's seemingly trying to do the same thing to Trump because...
Well, I was going to say, you ever heard of a porno movie called Deep Throat?
Yeah, I have.
It's not a porno movie.
Deep Throat?
No, that's the name of the spy.
And
a porno.
Probably the highest grossing porno movie of all time in the theaters.
Nice.
Come on, bro.
What's it called? This guy this guy's the president destroyer.
He really is. Yeah,
I think there was a little movie made about him called All the President's Men. More cinema facts coming right at you.
Cool. Anyway, yeah, he's got a new book out called Rage, and he in that book he revealed that President Trump knew and admitted to the serious dangers of coronavirus, acknowledged those dangers, but purposely downplayed the virus's dangers to the public. Trump told Woodward,
What's surprising here?
Nothing yet. Nothing.
What's the reveal?
Well,
nothing.
I mean, what do you mean? What's surprising because Trump lies a lot, or what's surprising?
No, of course, no. I don't. Unless you think Trump's a dum-dum, he knew it was pretty serious because he's getting all this information from doctors. So, unless you think Trump's stupid, he knew it was a serious virus.
Right, but I guess the news
unless you haven't been paying attention, he's been downplaying it.
He told the public one thing.
And he said, but he said that because he didn't want to start a panic. Which, look, in some cases that strategy works out great. Like probably with the aliens in a global pandemic. I don't think that's a great strategy because people, will go out and be reckless. But yeah, I understand. I don't know what the reveal is though.
Right. It's in my opinion, Mark, it's a big nothing burger. And I think Trump thinks the same thing.
Coming from guys who just you just see your dog shit on the carpet every day and then he shits the carpet again and you're not surprised by it, but he still shit the carpet. You know what I mean? I'm
certainly not happy with Trump on this because I think that a lot of people went out that if he'd said, don't go outside, they probably wouldn't have because they listen to whatever he says. But it's just not a surprise to me though.
Right. It's not a surprise.
I already knew this. Yeah.
Yeah. So what he said, the quote, and some of the quotes in the book, Trump said, "I wanted to always play it down. I still like playing it down because I don't want to create a panic."
Right.
And that's what was in the book. And then some other stuff, there's a lot of stuff in the book, like Mattis, he uses some quotes from Mattis. He uses a lot, like, it sounds like a lot of quotes from people that don't like Trump that we've heard before that are disparaging of Trump. So again, not anything new right there. There were also quotes in the book attributed to Dr. Fauci, which claimed he said Trump had the attention span of a minus number and that Trump's sole purpose was to get reelected. But when asked about those quotes on Fox News, Fauci said he did not recall them and said he, quote, didn't get any sense that Trump was distorting anything. So,
man, why would you even talk to this Bob Woodward guy? He gets everybody in trouble.
Right, that's what I'm wondering.
Well, I mean,
I'm gonna say no
from the Post.
I'll tell you why. It's because Woodward talks to all the presidents. That's just his thing. And Trump's like, hey,
but I mean, why
I'm
is
a president.
Fauci telling this guy that Trump's got a negative attention span? It's coming back around. It's gonna come out.
The worst part is there's the audit. It's just audio recordings, that's which Trump gave with Woodward's permission.
Woodward's like a human version of Alexa. He's just like recording you at all times.
I mean, yeah, right. He said in his audio recordings of COVID compared to the flu, this is more deadly, which he did not say publicly. But my favorite was, it goes through the air, Bob. That's always tougher than the touch. You know the touch. You don't have to touch things, right? But the air, you just breathe the air, and that's how it's passed. It's the best. If you haven't heard the audio recording, check it out.
Yeah. I mean, he did downplay it, right? So, and then as Mark said, it can be dangerous to do that kind of stuff. But Trump.
Well, it's just like it works sometimes and it doesn't. It's what's for the best interest. I think during a pandemic, it's not the best strategy for a meteor that's about to hit the world. Like, probably don't mention it, but downplay it. Yeah.
But you don't want to do the opposite of what some people did, which is really rile people.
You don't want to fear monger,
right?
It's just tough.
You got to find a balance.
He lied. Got to find a balance.
He lied to everyone's face, and then when he got called on it, he was like, "Well, I lied to your face for your own good." That's the tough part about it.
Right.
Yeah. So, Fauci's saying he didn't recall them, so that kind of throws into question some of the other quotes in the book. Maybe, who knows? And that Trump responded to the book.
No, Wes, the Trump quotes are on audio record.
Right.
Maybe
some
the
of them
Fauci
are. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, some of them are, but not Fauci. So that kind of stuff you got to kind of question. So Trump did respond to the book. He said, "Well, I think if you said in order to reduce a panic, perhaps that's so. The fact is, I'm a cheerleader for this country. I love our country, and I don't want people to be frightened. I don't want to create a panic, as you say, and certainly I'm not going to drive this country or world into a frenzy. We want to show confidence. We want to show strength." So seems to be sliding right off old Teflon Don. He's not too worried about it.
Trump's a rose-tinted glasses guy, as we hinted at. He wants to, be surrounded by people with big shoulders, tell everyone they got great shoulders. He doesn't want to be around the guy with one arm and one leg, and he likes to be confident and be surrounded by confidence and exude confidence. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, if you're going by presidents lying to the American public, let's just string them all up.
All of them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So now in some cocky news, Trump has announced he is not going to prepare for his debates with Joe Biden. The first one being on September 29th in Cleveland. He will not be holding mock debates like he did in 2016 and is relying on Biden to win the debate for him with his gaffes and blanking out on stage. So
I can't wait for the debates. Oh, man. Bring them on. We got to get in touch with Predicted and start setting up some markets.
Oh, yeah.
For the debates.
I'm going to talk
gambling my wiener off.
What's that date one more time? We don't have many days.
It's September 26th, 27th.
It's less than 3 weeks away.
Sometime soon.
September 29th in Cleveland.
Yeah. What's bigger, football back today or the debate on the 29th?
I mean, they're just both big. It's all good. It's all good, baby.
The debate ratings are going to crush like anything.
I might get a bigger TV.
We're going to have to do like a live stream before and after, like instant reactions, and we're going to gamble. It's going to be nice.
Mm-hmm.
I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, it's going to be amazing. So Trump's campaign manager, Bill Stipin, says, quote, Joe Biden is not formidable anywhere else, but he is formidable on the debate stage. We just hope he shows up. Trump is apparently studying Biden's voting record over his long career and is aiming to expose the differences between Biden and his more liberal running mate, Kamala Harris. And finally, in some great news that
he said he wasn't prepping, but he is studying. I'm confused.
He's not doing any mock debates, and he's not. He obviously he's prepping. He's 100% prepping.
He's prepping right now.
Yeah. But he's not worried. Is the main thing here. He's relying on Biden to shoot himself.
This has got like heavyweight big fight boxing vibes.
Does his voting record come in audiobook form? Can you get me an audiobook of his voting record?
Yeah, and then some news that Pat will absolutely hate and make Trump more cocky. He's been nominated for a Nobel Peace Prize by Christian Tybring-Gjedde, a member of the Norwegian Parliament and chairman of the NATO Parliamentary Assembly, for Trump's work in securing a peace deal with Israel and the United Arab Emirates, or UAE. The Norwegian said, quote, for his merit, I think he has done more trying to create peace between nations than most other Peace Prize nominees. He added, indeed, Trump has broken a 39-year-old streak of American presidents either starting a war or bringing the United States into an international armed conflict. The last president to avoid doing so was Peace Prize laureate Jimmy Carter. So, yeah.
There you go.
Yeah. Fun fact about Christian Tybring-Gjedde is he was in a coma until right before the summit, and then he went right back into a coma. And then
I mean, like he did do a good thing with the peace in the Middle East. This is the rare, one of those situations where he can win the Oscar and the Razzie, right?
Yeah.
Like it depends on.
Listen up, future presidents. You want a peace prize? You just stay out of war.
Yeah. Well, that's good. It's good thing to do. That's a good thing. So let's move it on over to Predicted real quick. We are less than 3 weeks away from the first debates. As we said, less than 2 months from the election. Books are coming out. Nobel Prizes are being thrown around. Biden is up nearly 7 points in the national poll average. Hillary was up by 7% in many polls in 2016. Will we see a repeat or a new president? Predicted.org/promo/hardfactor20. Listen, we talked about this. Let me tell you something right now. This presidential debate is going to be fucking amazing. Oh. Trump has claimed, like I said, he's not preparing. Will Biden show us he is the next president or the next nursing home patient? It's going to be electric, and Predicted will.
I swear to God, if you guys sign up for this, and a lot of you already have, so good for you. The ones that haven't, if you sign up for this and gamble with us on the debate night, you will have a time.
Yeah, get your free 20
you will
now.
Have a time.
Play around on the site, learn it, because then once that first debate pops, whoo,
it's going to change your life.
Gonna be you gotta no, I saw some people
not guaranteeing you're gonna win thousands of dollars, but you will have a time.
It's gonna be quite a night, and there's gonna be 3 of them. So you got 3. Just set yourself up for 3 great nights by signing up today. Deposit at least $20. You can't deposit if you deposit less than $20, you're not gonna get the free 20. Remember that. So and then the plethora of state markets you can bet on that will all close relatively the same time after the election is over. It's gonna be fucking amazing. Get in now. Predicted.org/promo/hardfactor20.
There you go. All right, guys, here's an awful story for you. As Wes, I guess your teasing of like the Trump thing is actually kind of how the show's going too, because I think Pat's is funny. So it starts well, here's an awful one. It's good, but the story's bad. Let's just get into it. The New York gynecologist that Andrew Yang's wife accused of sexual assault has now been charged with 6 federal sex abuse charges, including abusing a minor.
Cool.
A gyno.
Yeah.
Wow. That's like a priest.
Hiding in plain sight.
No, not as bad, but still bad.
Hiding in plain sight. Age wasn't a problem for the abhorrent doctor of Columbia, Dr. Robert Haddon. Hadn't a problem keeping his hands to himself. Sorry about the sexual assault jokes. They're tough, but his name is just screaming for a punning. Hadn't seen the light of day for 10 years is hopefully what we say about him 10 years from now.
And totally redeems himself. See, right? Mark, it's always difficult because sexual assault sucks. It's the worst. But you're right. Sick name for a pun. And you were going off the rails, but then the reverse pun, bringing it back to his potential jail time.
I'm glad you caught that. Was two completely different words replaced by his last name. Both work. Just a great pun name belonging to a truly horrible human being. Couldn't Haddon to a worse person. That's 3.
Oh, okay. Now you won.
I'm throwing off.
Lots of listeners out there being like, I don't know how I feel about this Mark character. Oh, I'm back on him.
Yeah.
back on him.
Triple pun, 3 different words. Fuck this guy. So over the course of 20 years, this guy molested his patients, oftentimes getting them to travel across state lines to come visit him at his doctor's office in New York, which is why it's federal crimes, because they had to cross state lines. Audrey Strauss, who's the acting U.S. Attorney in New York, or Southern New York, said that at a press conference that Haddon's a predator in a white coat, which sounds about right.
Yep.
Yeah, he got away with it for so long, guys, because most of his patients, he was the first gynecologist for them. So he was doing some extra stuff, but they didn't know. They thought it was probably normal and that just gynecology exams suck. And he was getting away with a lot of really gross shit. That's tough. One of his victims even was a baby he delivered, and then waited for her to grow up and then molest her after she was.
God.
So pretty fucking sick. This guy. Each of the 6 federal charges are up to 20 years in prison, so he's fucked. It's also way more than 6 women that have accused him of molestation, but I think they picked the 6 like federal crimes, and I guess maybe the ones they think can stick and be the most, longest sentences or whatever. So that's it. Fuck this guy. That's the story.
That he wish he hadn't have done that.
Yeah, there you go. See, it's fun. I mean, I hate this guy, but it's fun to.
Nothing worse than a guy or a gal that like puts themselves in a position of trust and power, and then what a piece of human garbage.
Yeah.
It's tough.
They should tattoo the Hippocratic Oath on his body with a rusty nail. Just to
cut his dick and fingers off. Yeah.
Get us his address. We're gonna mail that guy our pubes. Guys, this next story is brought to you by Daddy. Infertility. It's a huge problem for guys. And things do not get better as we age, unfortunately. I'm talking about Daddy, spelled D-A-D-I. Their mission is to make the process of fertility testing and sperm banking, which is the act of banking your sperm, as comfortable, convenient, and cost-effective as possible. And I'll be honest, guys, look, they are our sponsors. We got to say nice things about them. But it's nice when you get a sponsor that really, it is, everything they're saying here is true. It's cost-effective as fuck. It's easier than going to any sort of weird sperm bank. Masturbating in awkward rooms, and then handing your cup of seed over to someone.
Here you go.
Yeah, hoping that it's not weirdly warm. You don't know.
Where do I put this?
Yeah, you don't know. Is there a tray?
Is this the grossest one today?
Yeah.
Yeah. Is this a good amount, or should I go back in?
Is this a good color? You're so stressed about spilling it. I mean, I'm an awkward guy. You throw me in any situation socially, I'm going to be awkward. Talk about coming out of a fucking room you just jerked it into analog porn, and then
I can confirm that wiping a little bit of semen off the lid that you messed up is one of the most embarrassing moments of your life.
Yeah, and it's the fuck. You thought a urine sample was bad? Come on, guys. Anyway, guys, you can store your sperm from the comfort of your own home, and Daddy just takes your sperm. They send you a little kit. Wes just showed it on screen. Hard Factor, youtube.com/hardfactornews. It's a delight. You just come in it, and then you ship it. Daddy takes your sperm, they test it, and then they store it for you if you want. And it's cheap as fuck, so you don't have to worry about a thing. You never have to leave your house. You can do it right in your masturbation chair. These services at sperm banks usually cost thousands of dollars, and that's true. If you ever had a friend or a family member go through infertility treatments, it's pricey. But Daddy provides an at-home collection kit, lab-tested fertility report, so you can know how many little swarms you got, and a year of sperm storage just for $200. So a night out, a big night out, dinner, movie, maybe a birthday. That's what it's going to cost to store your sperm for a year. It's 3 months of cable. Wow. Get in there. And right now, guys, we're providing a special limited time offer for the Barstool community of $50 off your first purchase. You can store your sperm for $1.50, cheap. All you got to do is go to Daddy Kit, that's DADI kit.com, order your kit, and make sure to enter promo code FACTOR50. That's FACTOR, and then the number's 50, FACTOR50. During checkout, get that $50 off. Let's get into our feel-good story of the day. 80-year-old Harry Harvey of England is a hiker, boys. He always has been. He always will be. But now that he's getting up there in years, 80, that's an old-ass hiker. Let's just say he don't hike like he used to. And last weekend, Harry was out on a hike when a hailstorm, a massive one with gale force winds, hit him and his hiking partner, and they became separated while they were navigating through the Yorkshire Dales in northern England. Now, I don't know how you get separated on a walk. But apparently this happened. Must have been a real bad storm, or maybe his hiking
One
partner
person
doesn't like him.
turn around for a while.
Yeah, one
Usually
person
how-
doesn't care about the other person.
Yeah, one person is a life insurance beneficiary of the other person. Guys, anyway, those are just theories. That's not the story. So they get separated, and shortly thereafter on Sunday at 1:30, Harry was reported missing, which kicked off a massive manhunt for the octogenarian that included more than 100 police, Royal Air Force, and mountain rescue workers. So they were really looking for this old guy. Imagine if it was a young person. This was a big search for an 80-year-old. But anyway,
friendly town.
couldn't find him. Terrible. Everyone was worried sick. And on Wednesday, guys, his family, they were hopeless. And the only thing they had left to do was, I guess, to give a press conference. They'd already been looking for him for like 4 days, hadn't found him. So they got together at a pub to give this press conference to plead with the public to help find old Harry. And just before they began, guess who walked through the door?
Harry.
It was Harry.
Old Harry.
And
like nothing was wrong.
in true old man fashion, Harry was not happy. He was angry.
Was he asking why weren't people looking for me?
He was furious.
Well, he was just cranky because he's an old man. He said when he was asked by reporters, the reporters that gathered to spread the word about his disappearance, how he felt about the whole thing, Harry said, quote, "If I'd had known about this, I wouldn't have come back. I could do without all this."
I love it.
He's like a doesn't like surprise party guy.
Yeah. Who wandered off in a fucking hailstorm. No, he's like pissed at everyone that they were looking
I
for.
want ungrateful old shit.
Right.
I'm tired and achy. It's in a pub. Go get a beer, Harry.
Yeah. Well, guys, apparently Harry fell off a bridge while he was lost, and he lost his compass and his glasses, but he didn't seem to give a shit, saying, quote, "I had 3 really good wild camping nights where I was on my own and had all the kit I needed," which is supplies. "The only thing I was getting a bit short of, I've got a hell of an appetite, and when I get hungry, I've got to get something to eat or I can't go on." So Harry essentially came home because he was hungry. He would have stayed out there.
Well, did he? Or was it because he lost his compass?
No.
When he fell off his bridge and couldn't find his way home.
Well, apparently he was fine. This was after he wandered off. Harry was just camping. He was cool. And then he got hungry. He's like, "I think I'll go home now." Anyway, his son says he's grounded and he can't go any more hikes. Good luck to
Yeah,
his
no
son.
more hikes for Harry.
Yeah. Anyway, guys, let's take it to an interview with sitting U.S. House of Representatives member Ken Buck of Colorado.
All right, welcome to the show, Representative Ken Buck, who is a congressman from the 4th District of the great state of Colorado, author of Capital of Freedom, Restoring America to Greatness, Drain the Swamp, How Washington Corruption is Worse Than You Think, and Rotten to the Core, a congressman exposes how Washington corruption is worse than you think. That's a lot of corruption there, Ken.
Ken, you write more books than Donald Trump Jr. It seems like you're a busy guy.
I write a few books and I write about corruption because that's what I see in D.C. Absolutely.
All right. Well, let's get right into it then. We're going to go, Congressman, you are one of the leaders in the antitrust issues when it comes to Facebook, Apple, Google, and Amazon. You are a member of the subcommittee on antitrust, commercial, and administrative law and grilled the CEOs of those major companies on whether they were stifling competitors and hurting consumers with their power. You are also a leader on foreign human rights and wanted to make sure that those companies assured you that no forced labor would be used to create their products and that no products that used slave labor to be produced would be sold by them. Can you just get into that a little bit for us and tell us where that's at now? And
what's your beef with trust, Ken? I'm a trust guy. I mean, I think I try to build it everywhere I go. Why you anti it?
Oh, I'm in favor of trust fund babies, especially when they make political contributions. But this kind of trust is a little bit different.
You can't call them that when they're given, though. You got to call them.
Friends. That's what we call them when they give. Right?
Or Francis. Yeah.
Yeah. But this is a situation where the trust laws were written more than 100 years ago to cover railroads and oil companies. And now we've got this whole new form of technology, and they're really not up to speed. They're not relevant to what we're dealing with today with Google and Amazon and Facebook and Twitter and Apple. And so What we're trying to do is just examine what needs to be done so that the large companies don't crush the small companies. We continue to have innovation in this country. When we look at a world marketplace, what sets America apart from the rest of the world, not inexpensive labor and not poor working conditions. What sets us apart from the rest of the world is that we have innovation. And if we crush small companies, we're going to lose that innovative advantage that we have in the world.
So, Ken, I have a question. In full disclosure, I used to work for Whole Foods and ipso facto Amazon, and was in the IT world. What can you, as Congress, do to limit some of these monopolies, or what are you planning on doing? I watched the hearing; it was very interesting to me. Like, what's the next steps? What are they?
So the next step is the first step was to expose the problems that are going on, how Amazon crushes companies. They go into a market, they have the platform so that people go to Amazon and they buy from Amazon, and then Amazon creates its own products to compete with the customers that are actually selling on Amazon. So what we need to do is we need to figure out the tools that the regulators need to keep Amazon in check. Nothing wrong with being big. Big is successful, and in this country, we celebrate success. The problem is that when you use that success to crush others, that's a problem. So we need to update the laws. So we started with this investigation that exposed what was going on. We will write a report in the next few months, and then we will start to look at statutory changes to update the antitrust laws.
Do you think there will be laws changed in 2021? You think you'll pass something?
So nothing happens in 2020 because it's a presidential election year. Once we get through the election, we're looking at Thanksgiving, Christmas, and there's not a whole lot of productive time in that time frame. But I do think in 2021, you're going to see statutory changes that will be recommended and that committees will hear and go through. The problem is we have to make sure that we don't have wholesale changes in antitrust law that creates an inconsistency or insecurity in the marketplace. So companies have to know that if they merge with another company, they're not going to get sued 10 years later and be involved in a long lawsuit with the government. So as long as we give companies the idea that they are, we're going to continue to enforce antitrust laws in most cases the way we have, we're just updating them for the platforms.
Ken, have you seen the movie Terminator 2?
I have not.
Well,
you should watch that.
Did you guys talk at all about, in the back rooms of Congress, or did, I watched most of the hearings, but I might have missed this, about the impending takeover of the robots of our Earth, and what's your thoughts on that? Like, how soon until we're slaves? I know you got some inside baseball.
Yeah, no, no.
Okay,
but
Well, let me follow up on that. Oh, go ahead. Sorry, go ahead.
well, I think I think robots are fascinating. I'm not sure they're ever going to have the artificial intelligence to take over the world, and I certainly don't think it's going to happen during my lifetime. So for you younger folks, good luck. I hope
it's messed up, Ken.
Thanks,
Yeah.
Ken. Thanks a
Thank
lot,
you.
Ken.
I'll shoot a robot if I see it.
On that note, I mean, you guys pulled in some of the big dogs, right? Apple, Amazon, Google, Facebook. You brought in the CEOs, right? But one guy who wasn't there, and I know he doesn't own a huge company like that, but you got to keep your eye on Elon Musk. Are you guys keeping your eye on him?
Well, he's getting kicked out of California, is my understanding. So we're going to keep an eye on him. We're going to invite him to Colorado, and hopefully he settles in a more business-friendly state.
Well,
He's
he
coming here.
He already came to Austin, Texas with Tesla, so he already, he's driving our rent up. So you can have him.
But
Ken-
I'm sorry. Go ahead, Wes.
I was going to ask, moving over to the other thing that you talked to them about with the forced labor. How was Congress and you ensuring that these companies aren't using forced labor, or that the products on their websites that they're selling weren't created with forced labor? What are the regulatory rules in place for that?
So Senator Hawley from Missouri has a bill in the U.S. Senate, a bipartisan bill. I have a bill in the U.S. House, a bipartisan bill, where we're asking companies to certify that they are not using slave labor. And so I asked each of the 4 CEOs who were at the hearing. It was kind of interesting to me because the first 2 sort of hedged and hemmed and wasn't sure. And I'll have my staff work with your staff. And I told them, look, my staff doesn't like working with me. I'm not sure they're going to like working with your staff either. So you just need to figure this out. And a yes or no answer would be appreciated. And then finally, they did say, yes, they would not use slave labor or sell any products on their platforms that use slave labor.
Yeah, sounds like give us a couple years and we'll clean it up.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Well, Ken, one company noticeably absent from the antitrust hearings was the guy that got it in the rear end in the 90s, and Mr. Bill Gates. And those cats are looking to maybe purchase this new company, this little dance company called TikTok. First, I got to ask you, Ken, you a dancer? At a wedding, do you take the floor? What?
As long as there's no video cameras around, I'm a dancer. So I sing in the shower, and I probably dance as I'm going to work or something. But no, I would not try out for Dancing with the Stars.
Well,
so do you dance on TikTok? Do you have an account?
I do not have an account, and I can tell you that I have serious reservations until it gets sold to an American company for anybody in this country to have a TikTok account.
Well, let's talk about that. So you introduced the bill to ban TikTok or bar federal employees from downloading TikTok on government-issued devices, right? That was part of the defense policy bill. What's your vibe here? Because we talked to John McAfee. I don't know if you've ever heard of him. He's a security guy. He also has some weird scatological sexual stuff, but that's McAfee. Anyway, we talked to him, and he was like, "Man, your data's everywhere. Don't worry about it." I can understand, I guess, why you would want to ban government employees from rocking the TikTok on their device. But at the same point, there's TikTok offices opening everywhere, and it's creating a lot of U.S. jobs. Like, what are your thoughts about the platform in general? I mean, I know some of our colleagues at Barstool are going out to the TikTok house maybe in a couple weeks. So they'd be pretty sad if it was shut down when they got out there.
So TikTok is being used by the Chinese Communist Party to spy on America. And I'm not suggesting that we don't spy on the Chinese and the Russians and other countries. We do. But if there were a conflict between the U.S. and China, China would conduct a cyber warfare attack on the U.S. And the information that they gather through a device like TikTok would be used against Americans to try to shut down our economy during a conflict. And so we just have to be aware.
Did you guys get into the specifics on what the info is? I feel like there's a lot of misinformation, but I'm sure that you got some good intel on what data they have access to.
Well, they have access to just about everything because they've hacked into just about every website in America. So, they know, and in fact, I've talked to them. They know your social security number. They know your date of birth, and they also know what songs you sing in the shower. So they
don't want my social. I got bad credit, Ken.
Yeah, they don't. I mean, they're barking up the wrong tree. But
yeah, they're going to get Discover cards if they try to fly with my social.
But it's not good for the people that are financially responsible in America. But for us, it doesn't matter.
But so it's not like a Footloose situation where you're just anti-dance.
No. I'm pro-dance. I'm in favor of happiness and joy all across this country, and especially in Colorado.
All right.
Can you give? I just have a question. Can you give me an example of how they use that information? Like how would they use that information to shut down the American economy? What information are you speaking of? Like through TikTok? I mean, to me, it looks like a bunch of teenagers dancing around doing fun stuff. Why? What exactly can they do with that? What's the main concern?
So once they have a name, once they have identifying information, whether it's date of birth, social security number, once they get into a phone, once they've got enough information to get into a bank account, they can start making transactions in bank accounts that shut down our financial system. If you couldn't use a credit card or some other, if you had to use cash to pay for everything in this country would slow down significantly. If you couldn't communicate by email, a grocery store with a supplier, the supply chain would shut down. So the information that they gather is the kind of information that they can use to shut down our financial system as well as other communication devices.
We are in a digital age of money, and I think we're going to get to that in a little bit. But let's talk about the NBA first. So do you think the NBA has some answering to do about China, and what are your thoughts about the NBA?
Well, look, I think anybody that deals with China and pretends for a moment that they are friends or pretends for a moment that they share our values is making a big mistake. And I think that when the NBA and other pro sports leagues talk about social justice in this country, they're absolutely right to do so. But they also have a responsibility to the people who live in other countries to make sure that they don't just treat that as a marketplace, that they also promote social justice in the countries that they are selling to and buying from.
So I think we all would agree with you in that last statement, and we definitely are pretty upset about what's going on with the Uyghurs and the Chinese government in general. But let's transition to what's going on here, as you kind of touched on. There's a police reform act that was passed in the House. It's kind of stalled. I think you voted no on that. You can answer that. But like, what are your thoughts on police reform in America and Congress's really, I guess, inactivity on passing anything related to it?
So
Yeah, and specifically also why you voted no on the George Floyd bill.
Sure. So here's the situation. I was in law enforcement for 25 years. I have prosecuted bad cops. I have given awards to great cops. And I recognize that there are some bad police officers in this country. But one of the things that we value in this country is the fact that the federal government doesn't tell a local school board what to do. It doesn't tell a local police department. So as a member of Congress, I'm not telling the county commissioners in my county what they need to instruct the sheriff to do in terms of policing, nor am I telling the mayor of a city that I live in what the police should do in that city. We need police reform, and insofar as that we study police reform in Congress and we can put out something with best practices for states and local communities to adopt, I'm absolutely in favor of it. When it comes to Congress telling states and other other levels of government what they should do, I'm opposed to it. I think it's the wrong policy. It's wrong when we talk about it in healthcare, and it's wrong when we talk about it in policing.
Well, what specifically? Because the chokeholds is pretty similar, but
it sounds like when we talked with another, you're obviously a sitting congressman. We talked with a candidate for Congress that mentioned, potentially chokeholds in his county with female cops versus large men. Like certain holds, the local authorities need to make their own decisions. But and you touched on it, like there are certain things that you could probably do, like a national database for people that have gotten in trouble. And so there are some reforms that probably you as Congress could step in and all agree that would help, and maybe would help alleviate some of the civil unrest and stress in America. So you mentioned it's an election year. Why is there no activity going into passing bills for police reform?
I don't think there's no activity. I think what you've got is you've got an election year, and you have a Democrat Party that wants to promote one set of issues, and a Republican Party that wants to promote another. I absolutely agree with you. I have seen bad police officers allowed to leave a department, not be fired, not have anything on their record, leave a department and then go work for another department. Police officers who have used excessive force. That's absolutely wrong. And that has to be, it has to be a change in culture, number one. But then number two, we need to create a database. Is it state by state with interstate compacts so that if officers go across state lines, we know about them? Is it a federal database? It's a great discussion for a hearing. But when you take 10 or 12 different issues and you throw them together, and a lot of them really violate the fundamental principles that we have of federalism in this country, I think it's a mistake.
Well, Ken, are you saying it's a constitutional thing? Because obviously there's not telling states exactly what they need to do with their police force. But in my opinion, I mean, that's the number one thing, that you have all these police forces that are completely disjointed. There's no unified voice. They all have different policies, different rules. And obviously, I mean, we're going through a time of social unrest, right? And when that happens, usually that's a quelling. That's been a long time coming. And I look to Congress to act during this time when, police reform is at the forefront of everyone's tongue, which it is right now. Because if we let it go, then, the social unrest might die down slightly, and it might not be as a hot button issue from your constituents. So it's time to act now. And to me, it's chokeholds, no knock, and qualified immunity. Which one to you is the big issue? I understand having certain issues with the bill, but people are dying, and we got to do something.
More to the point, is there a counter bill to the George Floyd bill? that's being worked on?
Oh, there absolutely have been counter bills that haven't been allowed to be brought up in Congress. For example, in Colorado, no knocks are severely restricted. You've got to have a court order. And in that court order, you've got to show that the person who you believe is in this residence, apartment, whatever, is dangerous. And you've got to protect police officers when they're involved in conducting a search warrant or an arrest warrant. So there are two sides to this equation, and you have to make sure that you don't put police officers at unnecessary risk also.
For sure. Yeah, and also the national database, I think, like which we all agree on, the Catholic Church could look into that too. National databases in general.
We need to know where shitty people are. They can't leave.
Another hot button topic in 2020, obviously, because we got this damn global pandemic, is economic relief. So I know you're, fiscally responsible. You're hard line on that. It seems like, but like, what can Congress do to help the American people? I guess it was like in mid-March, late March, you passed the CARES Act, and then nothing since. There's been the HEROES Act, which was $3 trillion from the Democrats. There was the HEALS Act a couple months later from the Republicans. There was $1 trillion, and it seems like it's just completely stalled. What's going on now, and what can Congress do to help the American people?
So understand that the federal government doesn't shut down the economy. Each governor has put restrictions in the 50 states and also in territories in terms of what interaction can happen, what restaurants can be open in what way, other retail stores, and how people can interact with each other. Masks, no masks, this many people in public. So that is not something the federal government has done. And when you have one level of government writing the check and the other level of government that doesn't feel any restriction because it's being given the money, there's a serious problem there. And so as the economies open up, the revenue will start increasing to the states, and they can figure out a lot of what's going on. What the federal government should be doing and has done is make sure that we have testing equipment available, make sure that we have personal protective equipment available, make sure that we have the resources that we need to combat the disease. We have funded vaccine research. We have done a lot of things that will deal with this, but it's at a state level that the primary care of the individual health is being governed.
Right. And I don't disagree with you there, and it might not be fair, but you don't have control over which states completely shut down their economies, causing a lot of jobs to be lost. But we are where we are. What can the federal government, what can Congress, because the executive branch passed 4 executive orders, and the CDC stepped in, which is a part of the executive branch, and said no evictions till December 31st. So it seems like the executive branch is still doing things or trying to do things to help the American people financially, but the legislative branch hasn't done anything since March 27th. And so what are they what are you doing? On that note,
you voted no on the CARES Act, and I understand what you're saying in terms of the individual governors, but that is still baffles me. Can you kind of shed light to that, like why you voted no on CARES?
Sure. How many millions of dollars should the Kennedy Center receive when people are out of work?
Right.
When people
agreed.
Yeah. Most people on the show definitely didn't like the Kennedy Center. Look, we're not saying that the HEROES Act is the bee's knees or the HEALS Act is the bee's knees, but there's got to be something Congress can do to help. Yeah.
Absolutely. But understand something. We have $30 trillion of debt right now. We gave the Fed in that act, we gave them the ability to go into debt $4 trillion without any congressional oversight. If you want to see a true economic disaster, wait till we go off the cliff with our debt. So
we agree, Ken.
Right.
We definitely see that coming.
So that's what we want to hear about. Also, but like kind of joking, but not really. We're not going to pay China though, like the debt we owe them because they're being dicks, right? So I mean, but yes, talk us through then, like what would happen if you passed a $3 trillion bill with debt.
So look. If you want to pass a bill, you don't give Congress a bill at 11, or members of Congress a bill at 11 o'clock at night that is $1 trillion addition to our debt and expect them to vote on it at 12:10 in the morning. You just don't do that. And if you want to act responsibly in the U.S. House, you have hearings, you bring members along and help them understand why every penny of that bill is important. absolutely in favor of making sure that we have unemployment insurance and that we keep the economy solvent by giving checks to those who are in lower income brackets. Absolutely in favor of making sure that small businesses get their help that they need to get up to speed quickly when they can. Absolutely opposed to making sure that we are paying off a pension system in California, the speaker's home state, because they have been irresponsible for the last 30 years. Absolutely opposed to making sure that every piece of pork gets into a bill because American public thinks it's a necessary bill. You have to act responsibly when you spend
That's
money.
fair.
No, Ken,
That's fair, but
that makes totally sense. But I guess the question that a lot of our listeners have is the lesser of two evils, right? So, look, you're in there. You're a longstanding member of Congress. I'm sure that it pisses you off when you see, your colleagues from either side of the aisle putting things into a bill that are garbage, and that puts you in a difficult position. But it was kind of a wartime vote in some respects, right? Luckily, one without any violence, and you could sit and say, yeah, this sucks. They're giving us a bill at 12:10. They want us to vote 10 minutes later, and there's a bunch of BS in there, but if that didn't pass, people would have died. So how do you explain the lesser of two evils?
It's such a unique scenario, right? Like, this is just a global pandemic. No one could have predicted it. Do you think something will be passed by Congress prior to the election in terms of economic relief for the American people?
I do, but let me switch the question around a little bit. Why don't you have somebody on your show who stuck that pork into the bill and just ran up the debt so much?
Oh, we'd love to. They don't like to come on. They don't like to come on the show. We try. So if you have a friend across the aisle, tell them to come on the show, and we will ask them.
I don't think I'm gonna have any better luck.
Ken, we're not trying to attack you, and we get it. I mean, I just think that that's a tough answer. The lesser of two evils.
This is a question to Congress. It's not a Republican or Democratic question, and your points are very valid. But the American people are looking for some help, and they don't. I mean, at the most part, again, this is not an attack on you. This is a question to Congress. You're at like 20% approval in Congress, so 80% of the people are not super thrilled. Like, what? I understand it's an election year, but can you guys, are you working on passing something for the police reform? Or are you working on passing something for economic relief? Those are the two big questions.
Yeah, the answer to both of those is yes. The answer is nothing will happen until after November 3rd. Speaker Pelosi
fair enough.
And the Democrat Party want to make sure that they are messaging a certain message, and the Republican Party wants to message a different message, and nothing's going to happen until after the presidential election.
Does that piss you off? Does that make you angry? But
yes.
Especially because,
Yeah,
fair enough. Read one of the books, because I'm angry that we can't get things done that help the American people without being irresponsible. Absolutely, is a correct.
We saw you on the Swamp, the HBO's The Swamp. Just watched you on that. So we know you get a lot of phone calls too that people are yelling at you and stuff. So we worked in Tom Coburn's office for a little while when he was a senator.
Great man.
R.I.P. Tom Coburn.
Yeah, I knew Tom. I knew him well, and a big loss for America.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't really have many more questions. I think you answered
I
my
guess I have one
questions.
for Ken, you being a public servant for most of your life, right? And you're saying this is the bullshit of essentially government, that nothing's going to happen until after the election, and unfortunately, our president is politicizing everything, and that's the power that he has, and he's using it in that way. Like, so what do we do? And I'm not necessarily asking you as a congressperson, more asking you as an American who's served in the public for a long time. Like, what can we do between now and November? Because people are going to die, people are going to get evicted, people are losing their jobs.
CDC stopped the evictions.
Well, yeah, right. But what do you recommend? Like, what can we do?
Well, look, we have to come together as Americans, and we have to support businesses. I have donated money to restaurants to try to help them stay open, so that when this is over, they can be full-fledged businesses, because I loved going there before the pandemic. And I just think we've got to come together. And one of the things we have to do, frankly, is we've got to stop screaming at each other. And I'm probably screaming at you right now, so that's not a good sign.
No, yeah.
Oh, no, we're having a discussion.
No, you're not. And we're not screaming at you either, to be clear. No, this is a conversation. But yeah, I agree with you. We do need to stop screaming at each other.
And this is a very politicized time. We absolutely have to make sure that we are moving forward on social justice issues, but we also have to condemn people who are burning down restaurants and spray painting Capitol buildings and committing violent acts. And those two things have to be separated. But we can't be afraid to celebrate the great police officers that we have in this country. We can't be afraid to celebrate the veterans who are, protecting our liberties overseas. And so we have real greatness in this country. And I write about it in Capital of Freedom. The symbols are all over the Capitol and all over this country. And yes, we've had flawed, our founders were flawed in a lot of ways. And the people who have led this country over time have been flawed. Some have been in the Ku Klux Klan, some have been in other terrible organizations. We have to condemn that behavior, but we have to celebrate the greatness that was created in this country at the same time.
Yeah, I agree. Well, Ken, we thank you, for your public service. We thank you for coming on the show. 2020 has been a tough year for everyone, but for America in particular. And we hope that you and your colleagues can relieve some of the pain going forward by passing some things. Maybe after the election, maybe hopefully before. But that's kind of what the message we have to Congress.
Great.
So
I hear it loud and clear.
We appreciate you, Ken.
Thanks, sir.
Thank you.
thank you, Ken.
Ooh, good one with Ken Buck. Cool,
Spicy.
Congress. And that's...
Well, I mean, I appreciate his honesty.
Oh,
but
yeah. Thank Ken for coming on.
But it doesn't sound like much is going to get passed this year.
Yeah, appreciate Ken. All right, guys. Well, that's going to do it for Hard Factor. Thank you guys so much for listening. Stickers are coming in the mail. Chill. They're coming. Half of them went out. It's expensive. We're paying for it out of pocket. It's got to save up. We've got to get, they're coming. Okay, they're coming. Blame Mark.
That's on me. But we also have a new batch to print out too.
Yeah. Hell yeah. Make sure to follow us on socials, guys, at Hard Factor Pat, at Hard Factor Mark, at Hard Factor Wes, and at Hard Factor Will, who is off this week on vacation. Our main socials are at Hard Factor News and Barstool News Network. And have a great fucking day.